my name is Ross Gustafson, and this is Tesla Games. Today, I am going to teach you how to play a recently kickstarted game, Campaign Trail. Woo! Well, recently fulfilled Kickstarter game. I'll roll the credits already. Is a game designed by Nathan and Jeff Cornelius, as well as credits to their father, David Cornelius, who made the original design many years ago. And the two brothers decided to take it upon themselves, bring it into the modern world of game design, and as well as politics, which this game is about. This game is about the U.S. political system and the electoral college system that the U.S. presidential races are run. And so you are the president of either Republicans, Democrats, or Libertarians, or the vice president if you're going to play on teams, and you are trying to get electors or people who are going to vote for you to vote in certain states. You have the most states, you're going to get that state, and you get all the electoral votes or electors of that state. And at the end of the game, at the end of 3 months, whoever has the most electoral votes wins the game. And so, yeah, it definitely is a simulation of the U.S. system. As I mentioned before, you can either be president or vice president. It has a very interesting player count, and which really changes the game up depending on what player count you play. So you can play 1 or 2 player as either solo or co-op against an AI. You can also play 2 player one-on-one against each other. You can, and as 2 of the 3 parties. You can play 3 player as one person's the president of all each of the parties. You can play 4 player as 2 people are going to be on teams. So 2 people are vice president of one party and the other vice president of the other party. 5 player is you have 2 teams of 2. President, vice president, and then you have a team of 1 person by themselves playing, and they get to basically take double turns. So they're going to act twice before in their party's turn. And then, of course, you can play 6 player, which is 3 teams of 2 with all 3 political parties in play, and get really interesting. So each game, each player count is very different from each other, and I think it really adds to the longevity of the game. Alright, so as you can see, I'm actually going to be playing with the retail copy of the game. So if you were to order the game from their website, this would be the copy. If you have the Kickstarter deluxe copy, you can use that, and you can use these rules. It's pretty much just aesthetic changes between that and this version. And if there's a second printing, this probably will be fine. Second edition will probably be fine for the rules in there. And if there is like major changes, I'll make changes in this to a new video or something like that. Enough of me blabbing. Let's get on to the teach.
When are people going to learn? Democracy doesn't work!
First, determine how many players you're going to play with, what parties each person is belonging to, and if you're going to do teams. If you do have a team of 2 people on a party, figure out who the president and the vice president are. It doesn't matter mechanically to the game because their action options are the same. They share resources and they are almost identical except for their respective meeples, home state markers, and when they do a debate. Give each person their party's president or vice president meeple along with their home state markers. Parties with only 1 player get only the president's meeple and their home state marker. Also give each party a reference book, which is the player aid for the party. Next, lay out the board, the debate arena center tile surrounded by the respective parties' debate tracks, and set up the electoral track next to the board. Divide up the money into 10s and 20s and place them in the corner of the board in their indicated spaces. This is the bank. Take all the action cards, remove the solo co-op cards, the dirty politics cards, and if you're playing with 2 players, remove the cards with the 2 players crossed off symbol at the top of the cards. Take the remaining action cards, shuffle them, and divide these remaining action cards into 3 roughly equal piles. Place the 3 piles face down on the August, September, and October spaces of the board. Shuffle all the debate topic cards and draw 2 of them. Place one in the first debate space and the second card in the second debate space. Shuffle all the city tokens and draw 2. Place them in the debate locations above the debate topic cards. Place all the debate icons next to the board and organize them by shape. Then place all the debate icons of the first debate onto the debate arena center tile. Next step is to seed the map with initial voters. If you're playing with 3 teams, this is straightforward. Look at each state and find the leftmost star on the state. The color of that star is the party the state leans towards. That state gains 2 voter tokens for that party on that state. Then place the state into the electoral tract of that party. Now do that for the other 49 states plus the District of Columbia or DC.
Dear Mr. President, there are too many states nowadays. Please eliminate 3. I am not a crackpot.
If you're playing with only 2 parties, then open up your party reference booklet to pages 18 and 23. There are 3 different maps for each of the 2 party combinations. Use these maps as your guide to set up voters. Note, in a 2-party setup, some states only use 1 voter token instead of 2. Either way, place each state in the electoral tract for that party. Give each player 2 candidate cards. Each player chooses one of the cards and discards the other in the game box. Party members can discuss between each other who to pick. You can choose for all players to reveal their candidate cards simultaneously. Each player gathers the money and voter tokens equal to the amounts listed in the top left-hand corner of the candidate cards and places them on their candidate card. These voters are called registered voters, and voters in the supply are called undecided voters. Team members pool their money and register voters together. If the candidate cards have any other set of tasks written on their positive or negative traits, do so now. In a 5-player game, the party with a single player gets double the resources listed on their candidate cards. Give each player 5 cards from the August deck. These are kept in secret, but teammates can show each other their cards. Each player looks at their starting hand. Each card should have a reference date on the top center of the card written in gray. Pick one of the reference dates in your hand of cards to be your home state for your candidate. Teammates can discuss their options amongst each other. Once everyone is chosen, each player places their meeple and their home state marker on the state. As well, the player places 2 voters from the undecided voter supply into the state. If the state now has more voters than the opponent originally had, or have an equal amount of voters and can break the tie through the leftmost star compared to their opponent, or by having the genius candidate, then you can move the state on the electoral tract to the new dominant party. Finally, determine the party order by determining who most recently voted, or just randomly. Up to you. That's all there is to setup. Remember, if you're playing with more than 2 players, add back in the cards that have the not in 2-player game icon. As well, if you want to play with the Dirty Politics module, shuffle those in when you are shuffling in the action cards.
America, take a good look at your beloved candidates. They're nothing but hideous space reptiles. It's true. We are aliens. But what are you going to do about it? It's a 2-party system. You have to vote for one of us.
He's right. This is a 2-party system.
Well, I believe I'll vote for a 3rd-party candidate.
Go ahead. Throw your vote away.
The game structure is pretty simple. Each round, the parties will play out their actions in turn order. In a 2 or 3-player game, each player takes a single turn for their party's turn. In a 4 to 6-player game, each party takes a turn which consists of a president and the VP, each taking their complete turns in any order. The team chooses the order each round. In a 5-player game, the player who is by themselves on a team simply takes 2 complete turns in a row. Each player's turn has the same sequence. Play a card from their hand to take one of the actions listed on the card. Carry out the action. Discard the card into the discard pile. Draw cards until the player has 5 cards in their hand. If there are not enough cards in the action card pile for the current month to draw from, that player draws from the following month's deck. If it is October and the pile is empty, don't draw any more cards. Each party continues their party's turns until one party empties a deck. When that happens, that triggers the month's end. Play out the remainder of that round for all parties, i.e. until the last party's turn is done. If the month is August or September, proceed to that month's respective debate, more on debates later. If the end of October is triggered and all parties have finished their final turns, do the endgame actions and determine a winner, more on that later. Back to the turns. In games with teams, once both players in the party complete their turns, if both players have their meeples in the same region, those players can exchange up to 3 cards between each other. However, both players must receive and send the same number of cards. For example, both players can give each other 1 card, 2 cards, or 3 cards, but one player cannot give 2 cards and the other gives only 1. It must be the same number of cards each.
Mr. President, sir, people are becoming a bit confused by the way you and your opponent are, well, constantly holding hands.
We are merely exchanging long protein strings. If you can think of a simpler way, I'd like to hear it.
The number of cards in a month's action card pile, any ongoing effects, money, registered voters, candidate effects, upcoming debate locations and topics, and the current state of the Electoral College are all public knowledge, but the arrangement and contents of the action card piles do remain hidden.
Executive, legislative, and judicial.
No, no, and no. Maybe we should start all over with the Electrical College.
We have alluded to some general concepts, but let's elaborate on them some more. Players win by collecting Electoral College votes. Each state has a certain number of Electoral College votes, which are given to the player with the most voters in that state, which is represented by the voter tokens in that state. If there is a tie, the tiebreaker is either the party with the genius candidate or the party with the leftmost star in that state. The genius candidate does not break a tie if there are no voter tokens of any party in that state. Each state has 2 stars to show which parties that state leans towards, as shown by the colored state. There's also shown in pages 4 to 7 of the party reference book which parties have the first and second tiebreaker. What this all means is that you keep score as the game is played. The map is split into 9 different colored regions. These regions are listed on page 14 of the party reference book. These regions are Pacific, Western, Great Plains, Gulf Coast, Great Lakes, Appalachian, Southeast, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast.
There are only 49 stars on that flag.
I'll be deep in the cold, cold ground before I recognize Missouri.
There are also 10 cities on the map, 1 in each region except for the Western region, which has 2. Generally, these cities affect the state the city is in. The cities are listed on page 15 of the party reference book. These cities are Los Angeles, Seattle, Denver, Minneapolis, Dallas, Chicago, Cleveland, Atlanta, Baltimore, and New York. Some actions affect regions and some affect cities and the state the city is located. Just be aware of them.
Yee-haw! Homer, I want you to have my lucky hat. I wore it the day Kennedy was shot, and it always brings me good luck.
Why, thanks, Senator.
As mentioned before, a player takes an action as part of their turn. Generally, the player only gets 1 action per turn, but there are cards that may increase the actions taken on a turn. All actions are done through an action card. Each action card has 4 choices of actions out of a possible 6 kinds of actions. Before looking at the specific actions, let's see the anatomy of an action card because there's a lot of information on the cards. Along the top of a card, there's a reference date in gray. More often than not, this is unimportant, but if any action mentions the reference date of a card, this is it. Do note, there are no cards containing California or Texas as reference dates in the deck. To the right of it are debate symbols. There are 2 to 4 debate symbols in each card, and sometimes the symbols are duplicated. To the right of that is a number which just references which card this is, since each card is unique. Along the left edge of a card there are up to 3 possible symbols, T, F, and R, which are travel, blue, fundraise, which is green, and register, which is purple, respectively. On the bottom there may be a red P action for the politic action with company symbols and text. On the right edge there may be up to 2 symbols, which are A and C. These are advertise, orange, and campaign, brown, respectively. Most cards have a map in the center which reference typically the advertise and campaign actions. If there is a map which has no highlighted states, then it does nothing. Let's talk about the 6 actions starting with the travel action. The travel action is how you get your president or vice president meeple to move. You can only move yourself and not anyone else, including teammates. You may move up to the number of adjacent states indicated. If the travel icon has an airplane, then you can travel to any state containing a city and end your movement. If the travel icon has a number, a slash, and then an airplane, that means you can travel by airplane or move up to the number of states, but not both. If the travel icon has a plane +1, then you can move up to an adjacent state and then travel by plane to a city, or you can move by plane to a city and then move 1 more adjacent state.
When you go to the polls tomorrow, please vote no on Proposition 24. No on 24. No on 24. No on 24. No on 24.
landslide, yes on 24. The proposition passed with a record 95%.
The fundraise action is simple. Collect from the bank the indicated amount of money into your party's war chest or treasury. Remember, money registered voters are shared among the candidates of the same party if playing on teams. The register action is also simple. Collect from your undecided voter supply the indicated number of voter tokens and place them in your registered voter supply in your party's war chest. The advertise action utilizes the issue icons on the board which are referenced on the cards. It allows the player to advertise to all states containing an issue icon for $20 million. These states are highlighted for your convenience on the card in orange with the respective icons on them. You can choose to advertise once per icon to each state affected by that icon. If an issue icon is duplicated, that means you can advertise twice to the states containing those icons. So if a card has two icons, it will cost $40 million to advertise to both issue icons, or $20 million to advertise for one icon. If the card has four icons in the advertise section, whether any icons are duplicated or not, then the player can advertise to all four icons for $80 million. But remember, you don't have to advertise to all icons in the advertise action, just the ones you choose and spend the money for. For each icon a player advertises to, the player takes a voter from the registered voter supply in the party's war chest and places a voter token on each of the affected states. If you don't have enough in your supply to fill all the affected states, choose which states get the voter tokens. If you're paying for a duplicate icon, then place a second voter on the affected states. Remember, it is $20 million per issue icon you wish to spend, which equals one voter on each state that issue icon affects. The campaign action costs $60 million to activate and requires your meeple, not your partner's meeple, to be on one of the states that campaign is listing in its action. The states are also highlighted in brown on the map of the card with their two-letter state abbreviations on them. The player can then place up to 6 registered voter tokens from their party's war chest onto the campaign states in any combination the player sees fit. They can all go in one state, be split up in 2 states, all split up between all the states. It doesn't matter because the player chooses where they go among those states. These highlighted states can also cross regions, so they're not region specific. If you see a campaign action, instead of highlighting specific states, it says home state region, then your meeple must be in any state within the same region of your home state, and the campaign action's 6 registered voters are then distributed among the states within that region.
Hey, Mr. President! I campaigned for the other guy, but I voted for you!
Finally, there is the politic action. These are wildcard actions. Generally, you follow the text and do what it says, and if there is a rule discrepancy, then the text overrides the rulebook. There are 3 types of politic actions: instant, ongoing, and response. Instant actions are simple. You do that action and then discard the card as normal at the end of the turn. Ongoing cards usually have no effect or only a passive effect once played. They are not discarded, but stay in front of the player who played them. They only affect the player who played them, not their teammate. However, the card effects are accumulative and may give some interesting combinations. Response cards are played in response to an action done by an opponent on an opponent's turn. Play them when the response card tells you you can play it. Once the effect of the response card happens, discard the card but don't draw another card. You only refresh your hand up to 5 cards at the end of your turn. Note, when doing any action or in between turns, be sure to consolidate your single voter tokens into 3 count voter tokens, as you will run out of 1 count voter tokens fairly quickly in this game.
Will the winning essay be Bubble On, O Melting Pot? Lift High Your Lamp, Green Lady? USA A-OK? Or Cesspool on the Potomac?
Cesspool, 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 cesspool.
This section of video will teach about the optional module of Dirty Politics. If this is your first game or you prefer not to play with Dirty Politics, then skip to the next section, which is debates. Timestamp links are provided in the description of the video. Otherwise, let's dive in. Dirty Politics works almost the same as regular action cards, except there are less Dirty Politics cards than normal action cards, and they attack the opponents in various ways. Dirty Politics cards are simply shuffled in the action card piles that's set up like normal cards. They're structured very similar to regular action cards with the following changes. The background is darker in color and they state they are Dirty Politics in the top middle of the card. They don't have any debate issue icons on the top of the cards, making them useless for debates, which we'll talk about later. They have 6 actions, but they have different acronyms and all are meaner reflections of the normal actions.
I'm sorry, boys. I've never expelled anyone before, but That pig had some powerful friends.
Oh, you'll pay. Don't think you won't pay.
The VS action is the voter suppression action. Here you move a short distance, removing any opponent voters out of the state you finish in. You remove the number of voters from any party in that state as indicated by the negative cube next to the movement. If the movement contains a plane, then travel to a city and remove the voters from that state. The FC action is the flip contributors action. Here you take that much money out of the war chest of a chosen opposing party and put that money in your party's war chest. The SM action is the sway minds action. Here you move that many registered voters out of the war chest of a chosen opposing party and place those in their undecided voter supply and add from your undecided voter supply the same amount of voters to your registered voters. Before we talk about the next three actions, let's talk about the ethically minded states. There are 5 states on the board for each party with a symbol of devil and angel on them in color of that party. The states are listed on pages 14 to 15 and are also marked on the board. These states are sensitive to the dirty actions of politics and don't like it when certain parties do certain dirty politic actions. When the rules or an action mentions ethically minded states and their voters, you need to concern yourself with the party's 5 states listed and your voters in them.
Mondale to Hart. Where's the beef? Where's the beef? What the hell's that supposed to mean?
Where's the beef? No wonder he won Minnesota.
The MS action is the mudslinging action. It is like the advertise action, but instead of paying $20 million per issue, you pay 2 voters from any of your ethically minded states per issue you wish to mudsling in. You may flip the states to that opponent. However, for each issue you do this with, you remove 2 opposing voters in each state that icon you mudslinged in for and place those voters into their respective undecided voter supply. The SC action is the smear campaign action. It, like the campaign action, requires your meeple to be in one of the affected states on the smear campaign action. Instead of paying $60 million, you must discard 4 voters from amongst your ethically minded states, if you have enough. Then you can remove 8 voters from any opposing party from the states shown on the card and place those voters into their respective undecided voter supply. The DT action is the dirty tricks action, and they're just like the politic actions functionally, except there are no response dirty trick actions, only instant and ongoing dirty trick actions. Otherwise, it follows all the same rules, but with a more nasty effect for your opponents.
My fellow Americans, as a young boy, I dreamed of being a baseball. But tonight I say we must move forward, not backward, upward, not forward, and always twirling, twirling, twirling towards freedom.
There are 2 debates in the game, but they are functionally the same. These happen in between August and September months and the September and October months. Once you are in October, all debate icons and politic actions which affect the debates are worthless. In a 2 or 3 player game, all players participate in both debates. In a 4 to 6 player game, the vice presidents are involved in the first debate, including the lone president player in a 5 player game, and the presidents participate in the second debate, also including the lone president player in the 5 player game. The debate has 3 phases: preparation, debate rounds, and voter reaction. When preparing for the debate, do the following steps in order. Change the party turn order in order of the most electoral college votes to least electoral college votes. Move all debating candidates, either VP or President meeples, to the state of the host city of the debate for free. If anyone has unprepared politic actions, resolve them now in turn order. If anyone has debate prep politic actions, resolve them now in turn order. As well, the 6 issue icon tokens for the debate should be on the debate arena center tile, with each party's track next to the center tile. Now we are ready for the debate rounds. There are 3 debate rounds for each debate where each party gets to play 1 card, and the debate rounds are resolved in turn order. Each round, a player selects a card from their hand and plays it for its debate issue icons. That card must have at least 1 icon that matches one of the issue icon tiles currently in the debate arena. The player moves any matching icon tiles 1 step in the direction of their debate track, or 1 step down a track of their favor. If a card has duplicate icons in the debate issues section of their card, then they get to move that icon 1 additional step for each duplicate icon. If a card has other icons that are currently not in the debate, then the player places those icon tiles onto the debate arena center tile and then moves it in the direction an appropriate number of steps. This is called creating a rabbit trail, and those icons remain in the debate for the remaining rounds. All parties can play cards that have new issue icons, so this becomes a two-edged sword should you choose to add new issues to the debate.
The politics of failure have failed. We need to make them work again.
Once all parties have played 3 cards, it is time to resolve the voter reaction. First, discard all used cards in debate, then refresh everyone's hand of cards to their hand limit. Now resolve all the issue icons. The center of the debate arena is considered neutral, meaning no one is winning any issue icons at that location. Therefore, remove the icon tokens located there. Then each party adds voters from an undecided voter supply, not the registered voters, and place them into the states those issues affect. The value or step on the party's debate track the issue token is at is how many voters you place from your supply onto the affected states. To know what state an issue affects, you can look at the board, which it may be difficult to see, or you can go to pages 8 to 13 in the party reference book to see what issue affect which states. For example, if you have an icon token for immigration on location 1 of your party's debate track, you can see it as a circle icon, which represents international relations, and find those issues on page 10. There, immigration is shown to affect 4 states: Arizona, Iowa, Kentucky, and Vermont. Add 1 voter on each of those states from your undecided voter supply and readjust the states on the electoral college tracks if there is a new leader in those states. Repeat this process for all icons in your debate track. Do note that all states have 1 issue icon on them except for California and Texas, which have 2 unique issue icons each. Once all players have finished adding in their voter tokens to the board and readjusted the electoral college tracks, remove the icons from the debate tiles. If you're going into September, then add the issue icon tiles to the center debate track that are listed on the debate issue card that was determined at setup. If the game is going into October, then simply remove or ignore the debate cards, debate arena tiles, and issue icons, as they will not be needed for the remainder of the game. Now it is time to begin the new month in the new party turn order determined at the beginning of the debate.
I am looking forward to an orderly election tomorrow, which will eliminate the need for a violent bloodbath.
At the end of the October month, once the power runs out, play out the remainder of the round, but don't refresh anyone's hand anymore. Once all parties have played their final round, in turn order resolve any endgame politic actions. Once that is done, if the Electoral College was maintained during the game, the winner should be evident as the party with the most Electoral College votes. If it is very close, double check the count and add up the Electoral College votes to see who the winner is. If there is a tie, the party with the most states is the winner. If there is a tie for first among 2 parties in a 3-party game, remove the loser party's votes and realign their states among who won them between the 2 tied parties. If there is still a tie, then the party with the most number of states wins. Remember, ties are broken on states by the party with the leftmost star in the state or the party with a genius candidate. If a state has a tie of 0 votes to 0 votes, then the party who has the leftmost star of the state is the winner, even if the other team has a genius candidate.
One thing is for certain, there is no stopping them. The ants will soon be here. And I, for one, welcome our new insect overlords. I'd like to remind them that as a trusted TV personality, I can be helpful in rounding up others to toil in their underground sugar caves.
Whew. Well, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions about the rules, there are good appendices in the back of the rule book. As well, you can go to BoardGameGeek.com, look up Campaign Trail, go to their forums for Campaign Trail, and look up the rules section of the forums. The game designers are fairly active on there, as well as the community is also there to guide you in the right direction. Now, as for the solo mode or the co-op mode, I'll leave that to you to discover for yourself in the Appendix A.
You know, Senator, being in suspended animation gave me time to think. Partisan politics are tearing our country apart.
You got a point there, Bill. If you and I are going to whoop these one-eyed space fellas, we're going to have to set aside our differences.
Together, we can lead America into a new golden age.
Friend, you got a deal. Homer, let us out. It's time to tear those aliens a third corn shoot.
Yeah.
Now, like to address something that people find actually pretty surprising about this game, and that is how unifying this game. I know that it's really hard and it's kind of a sticky situation to talk about politics with friends and family these days. It seems like in our very divided political climate that we live in, especially here in America, it's getting really harder and harder for us to talk about. But I think this game really makes a good job of not being a game about, certain political issues of the day, but really more about the structure of the U.S. presidential elections, the electoral college system that the United States employs. And so I would like to commend the designers of this game for really sticking to a nonpartisan, non-political political game. And so it doesn't really matter if you are, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, or if you don't even care about politics at all. I think this game really works for everybody. I think this is a great educational, instructional game that's fun and has a very deep strategy for a game that's relatively simple, especially compared to some of the other videos that I have done. And so I think there's some deep, it's a deep game, and I would like to commend those designers for making sure to get this to market. I know it was a difficult road, but yeah, this is a great game, and it's really worth your time to play. Speaking of it being worth your time to play, I would suggest if you don't have this game, you should go out to their website, to Cosmic Wombat Games, and I'm not sponsored by them at all or anything like that. I'm not prompted to do anything of this by them, but I do want to give a shout out to a small game publisher that could, use more of these games out in the wild. I think that this game, the remaining copies of the first print run should sell out, and I think if that happens and people are giving it a lot of buzz, if you give it a good review, good rating on Board Game Geek, and people are talking about this game, then it is more likely that a second printing or edition or even a bigger publisher can pick up this game and get more copies, get in more hands. So I would suggest for small publishers like this, like Cosmic Wombat Games, to help them out. So here I am, giving my shout out to them. This is an excellent game, and I hope you love it as much as I do. I am saying this game is now in my top 10 games of all time, and I play a lot of board games. So yeah, I don't say it lightly. That I wouldn't do this video and spend all this time working on it if I didn't love this game. So I do love this game. I think everyone should play it. And yeah, I think it's really good. And it's also really good for kids too, because I think it's simple enough that probably like a 9 or 10-year-old can probably play, maybe an 11-year-old, depending on how intelligent they are, or at least analytical they are. And they can play this game and learn the country, about the United States and their political system, especially if you're an American or live in the United States. So anyway, that's my spiel, and yeah, it's a great game. I love it. Play it, and hope you love it too. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, ignore all the thumbs. If you do like the content that I make, then please subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so you are notified of the next video I make of a great game like Campaign Trail or any other great games as you see on our channel. Okay, and yeah, give me comments and so forth. If you have a funny story, or you have tips and tricks and strategies, or you want to complain about all the rules I got wrong or something, or any mistake I made in the video, that's fine. If you like Simpsons quotes like me, put your most obscure Simpsons quotes you can. Obviously, first 10 seasons, there's no other season other than that. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook, and of course Instagram is where I'm the most active. And Tesla Volta Games, I hope we spark your interest in great games like Campaign Trail. Alright, adios, ciao.
Oh no, I fell asleep. I have forgotten everything that Mr. Homer taught me.
Perfect. Let's roll.